Welcome to this explainer. Okay, I want you to picture a scenario that is, well, probably way too familiar for all of us. You pick up your phone, right? You just want to check one single notification. But then, it's almost like you've blinked and literally time traveled. Suddenly, an entire hour has just vanished. You've been scrolling, swiping, tapping, but here's the really exhausting reality. You aren't actually enjoying it. In fact, if you really check in with yourself in that exact moment, you probably feel kind of anxious, empty, and just completely exhausted. And yet, even knowing all of this, you just can't stop.
Section 1. The biological hijack. Why you can't look away.
So let's look at that gateway, that single notification. We always tell ourselves, oh, it'll just take a second. But that one supposedly harmless buzz on your screen, it quickly morphs into an hour of anxious, empty swiping. You're just staring at a glowing rectangle, feeding it your time and your energy, and getting absolutely nothing of substance in return. It's this utterly exhausting loop that leaves us feeling completely drained rather than rested.
Which brings us to the million-dollar question. Why is it so incredibly difficult to put down a screen once we've started? Look, when we find ourselves stuck in this loop, it is so easy to blame ourselves, isn't it? We think, I'm just lazy or I have zero discipline. But the science, it tells a completely different story. The answer is absolutely not a lack of willpower. What you're experiencing is actually a biological hijack. You are caught in a highly sophisticated chemical trap, engineered by some of the smartest people in the world. And what exactly are they exploiting? A survival system inside your brain that is literally millions of years old.
Section 2. The molecule of wanting. Redefining dopamine. To really grasp how this trap works, we need to completely redefine how we think about a very specific chemical. Now, here's a fascinating truth that shatters a super common myth. Most people think dopamine is the pleasure molecule, right? We're taught it's that chemical reward you get when you experience something fun or satisfying. But talk to neuroscientists and they'll tell you that is totally wrong. Actually, dopamine is not the chemical of satisfaction. It's the chemical of anticipation. It is the molecule of wanting. Think of it like this. Dopamine is the thing that tells a hungry animal to keep searching for food. It's the biological fuel that gets you out of bed, makes you put in effort, and pushes you toward a goal. It doesn't make you feel satisfied, it makes you chase.
So the core of the problem here is this massive mismatch between our evolutionary biology and our current environment. See, back in the ancient world, this dopamine system was perfectly balanced. If you were hungry, dopamine drove you to hunt. When you finally caught your prey, put in the grueling physical work, and ate it, your dopamine levels naturally dropped. Other chemicals like serotonin and oxytocin took over and gave you a deep feeling of satisfaction and safety. The chase ended, right? The system reset. But fast forward to our modern world, it is hyper-abundant. We're dealing with infinite digital rewards. Every single time you get a like, a text, or a video recommendation, your brain gets a tiny microdose of dopamine. It's a phantom signal. It's telling your brain, hey, there might be something valuable here, keep going. But you're getting these hits without doing the actual work of achieving anything. Our ancient system is just under relentless attack.
Section 3. The Skinner box algorithm. The illusion of reward. Now, what's really interesting here is that tech companies aren't just guessing. They are using a highly effective psychological mechanism discovered back in the 1950s by behavioral psychologist B.F. Skinner. Skinner did this experiment where he put pigeons in a box. Now, pigeons aren't exactly known for being tech addicts, but initially, he gave them a pellet of food every single time they pressed a lever. They learned the rule pretty quickly. Press the lever, get food. But then in step 3, Skinner changed the rules. He made the lever give a pellet only sometimes, completely randomly. This is what's called a variable reward schedule. Now, you might think the pigeons would just get frustrated and give up, right? But no way. Instead, they became completely obsessed. They pressed that lever compulsively for hours on end, just waiting for that random payout. And guys, this is the exact mechanism behind the infinite scroll on your phone. It is a digital slot machine. The algorithm is the box, and every single swipe you make is a pull of the lever. Sometimes you swipe and get a funny video that makes you laugh. Sometimes you get an annoying ad or absolutely nothing of interest at all. That unpredictability is precisely what makes it so addictive. Because dopamine is the molecule of anticipation, your brain gets flooded with it, not by the reward itself, but by the sheer possibility of the reward. The anticipation itself literally becomes the drug. Section 4. The dark side of scrolling. Downregulation. I actually want to slow down our pacing here for a second because understanding downregulation is absolutely vital. It explains the physical toll this takes on your brain and why you feel so terrible after a long scrolling session. See, your brain is designed to maintain a strict baseline of dopamine. When a massive spike of dopamine hits, like from a viral tweet or an endless stream of hyper-stimulating videos, your brain goes, whoa, okay, that was way too much. We need to balance this out. So to protect itself from being utterly overstimulated, your brain physically reduces the number of dopamine receptors it has. It literally pulls the receptors out of your synapses, those tiny gaps between your brain cells. This process is downregulation. Because you now have fewer receptors, your overall dopamine baseline drops. You build a tolerance. Suddenly, normal, healthy activities that used to make you happy, like reading a book, taking a walk, or having coffee with a friend, well, they no longer give you any pleasure because they don't produce enough dopamine to register on your reduced receptors. You start needing more screen time, more extreme content, and more novelty just to feel baseline normal. And without that digital drug, you drop below your baseline. That is exactly when the irritability, the crushing boredom, and the anxiety set in.
It's a tragic irony, really. The more you chase the dopamine, the less you actually feel it. The chemical of wanting is entirely eating the chemical of liking. Your brain was built for a world where rewards were real, physical, and hard to get. It simply doesn't have the hardware to process an infinity of frictionless novelty. Endlessly scrolling it's literally like revving a car engine in neutral. You're pouring all this high-octane biological fuel into the tank, burning out your reward circuitry, but you aren't actually going anywhere. You are starving in a land of plenty.
Section 5. Reclaiming your mind. Escaping the trap.
Now that we understand the science, let's shift gears and look at how to actually escape this thing. Look, dopamine is not your enemy. It is an incredibly useful, beautiful tool, but only when it's attached to reality. You have to consciously reattach your dopamine system to real-world effort and outcomes. Go for a run and sweat a little. Build something physical with your hands. Sit down and force yourself to read a difficult book. Have a deep, engaging conversation with a friend without checking your phone even once. Now, I do have to warn you, in the beginning, this is going to feel excruciatingly boring. Your downregulated brain is going to scream at you for the easy, hyper-stimulating rewards of the screen. But if you can just push through that initial discomfort, your brain will slowly begin to upregulate its receptors again. Your baseline will return. The colors of the real world will come back to life, and you will start to find genuine, lasting pleasure in the slow, quiet, difficult parts of life once again.
Because ultimately, this is the absolute most important truth to remember. You are not a pigeon in a box. You do not have to press the lever just because it's sitting right in front of you. You have the agency to step out of the casino, walk out into the sunlight, and completely reclaim your mind. So, I want to leave you with this question to think about right now. What is the very first thing you're going to do today to break the cycle? Are you going to leave your phone in another room? Go for that walk? If this explainer resonated with you and helped you understand your own mind just a little bit better, please hit that subscribe button for more deep dives into the fascinating science of your brain. Thanks so much for joining me, and I'll see you in the next one.